This episode of Building Barrels is brought to you by the winds of Barbados. Please excuse their continued interruptions.
Welcome. Thanks for dropping in to Building Barrels, where we explore the technology, planning, and development of adventure centers using man-made waves to spread the stoke of surfing. My name is Michael, and I'd like you to join me in learning everything we can about surf park development, and together we can build barrels in our hometown. All right, in this episode, we're going to continue our recap of Surf Park Summit 2020. Today, we're going to explore safety, risk, and insurance. There were actually two different sessions that covered this, a presentation by McGowan Allied Specialty Insurance, as well as a panel discussion with Marshall Meerman of Whitewater West, Curtis Barton of Amped Insurance, and Wes Long with Starguard Elite, as well as George Panton with Industry Trends. As with most other presentations, these guys said you don't want to take safety lightly, and you want to start early in the development process, just like everybody else is mentioning. And they also mentioned that people are going to insurance before even putting together their pro forma, so they can add it into their pro forma. Now, I did try this for my surf park. I went to an insurance company and started asking questions, and the industry was so new that they couldn't give me any kind of definitive quotes or answers. They didn't really even know the right questions to ask, and maybe I went to the wrong insurance companies, but they just gave me a very general quote and said it could be anywhere between this number and this number for insurance. Once the industry gains a little bit better foothold, you could probably get better quotes than what I got, and maybe I need to reach out to one of these guys instead, and maybe they could help me better. But regardless, they talked about how monetizing the project is what brings the risk, and just so that you understand what that means, monetizing your project is essentially making money off of it. And to make money off of it, you got to have customers, and to get customers, you have to have different offerings at your surf park, different activities. And so with more people and more activities, there's going to be more risk of injury, property damage, and that kind of thing. And so you want to make your property as safe as possible so that you're minimizing the risk, and that in turn helps with your insurance and helps the cost of insurance, as well as gets you better policies. All of those activities and the safety procedures that you put in place into your surf park, those are the conditions that you're providing for the public, and those will factor into any potential injuries and potential lawsuits. So how do you manage and mitigate this risk? First, you need to identify and analyze and minimize the potential risk exposures. Some of the risk exposures may be first party, where you or your property or equipment get damaged, but then most of the risk likely comes from third party, meaning bodily injury or damage to somebody else's person or property. In order to control this risk, you want to make sure to identify it, and preferably avoid it altogether. Never let it even happen. Prevent it from happening. If you can't prevent it, you want to at least reduce it. You want to reduce the risk or transfer the risk altogether, and whatever's left, that's what you want to insure. Now, how to prevent your potential risk and reduce any kind of losses that are associated with it, you really want to be proactive with your safety, and you want to make sure to have safety reviews and have a culture of safety and accountability at your surf park. You want to make sure to perform regular inspections and maintenance of your equipment and your property. You want to have safety education with your employees. You want to have proper training of your employees. You want to look at the textures on the surfaces, make sure that they're not too slippery. You want to keep a safety log and maintenance logs. You want to have training manuals. And you also want to make sure to incorporate opening and closing checklists into your operations. And if there are ever any incidents, you want to make sure that there's a report that gets filed. You want to have signage on your property, making sure people are aware of different hazards that might be on your property, and preferably you want to reduce any hazards in the first place. And then with all the reports and the documentation, you want to make sure that there is consistent and secure access to that documentation. To transfer the risk onto vendors and others, you want to use waivers and hold harmless and indemnification language in your contracts. And using insurance, that transfers risk as well. And it takes on some economic protection, so you don't take on all of the loss, and it helps prevent those losses from your property and liability. Surf park safety equipment is essential for your surf park, but the equipment is going to be different from regular pools. You want to look at your surf park safety equipment early on in the process, because that obviously reduces risk. You want to take a look at the helmets, the life jackets, leashes, boards. Should you use soft boards? There's a good chance that during the group learning sessions that some of your customers might be running into each other. And so rubber fins and soft top surfboards are probably going to be needed. You also want to be looking at your water treatment. We covered that in a different episode. A real big risk here is alcohol, and you want to make sure that your bartenders and restaurant staff, they are trained in alcohol service training, and preferably you could get more of your employees trained in that as well. The big thing is that your lifeguards should not be managing the alcohol consumption. They shouldn't be managing who's drinking too much. They need to be watching the water and the activities, and so other employees need to be watching for this, and you need to have control measures in place for the circumstance where you've got somebody who has been drinking too much, and you definitely don't want to let your surf park become a big frat party. And with alcohol consumption, your employees need to be really vigilant, because this is where a lot of injuries may occur. Now, getting into choosing an insurance provider, they said that you don't want to get caught up in the price. You want to look deeper than just that. You want to research the handling of the claims, the coverages, operations, their loss history, and the overall insurance marketplace. Right now, underwriters are heavy-handed because insurance is apparently struggling, and this is a new industry. So you really need to communicate often with your broker. It's a three-way relationship in insurance. You've got your broker, your underwriter, and you. And so you need to definitely make sure that there's open communication with all of that. So what other factors are going to influence your insurance? Now, they're going to look at how you are mitigating your risk. The insurance is going to review your waivers and how they are being enforced. They're going to look at the design of your surf park, the size, the scope, the pool depth. Insurance is going to even look at how big the wave is and how it's being made, because different technologies have different setups in the way that the waves are created, and that plays into the risk. A big part of it is they're going to look at the capacity of your surf park and what protocols are in place to handle this public capacity. And you're going to need to make sure that your employees can handle the numbers of people that are coming to your surf park. You may even need to control the numbers who are coming to the surf park. Worst case scenario, reduce those numbers. But you especially want to consider this with your new surfers, because they're going to be wiping out a lot and they're a lot more prone to injury. And lastly, you need to have training for all your employees. Now, some other things to look at regarding insurance and safety is the underwriters are likely going to go as far as looking at your lifeguard protocols. They're going to want to look at your lifeguard ratios. Now, these ratios are going to be different between a surf park and a regular pool. Surf parks are going to be more difficult to manage the entire body of water. There are many more opportunities to get in the water and possibly get hurt. There's also going to be a lot of variation facility to facility. And it may be a situation where you have your lifeguards watching over a zone rather than a per person kind of ratio. And the activities of your surf park are going to drive the initial conversation with your insurance company. And local codes are going to influence this as well. And ultimately, because lifeguarding is so different for a surf park rather than a traditional water park, you're going to want to make sure to create some specialty education models for training for your surf park. Now, finding the right balance of risk versus capacity versus equipment use, it's going to take some time to figure out, and it might influence your business model. Will your customers be able to bring their own boards, or do you need to space the waves out more so that there's less possibility of people running into each other? And also, as mentioned in one of the other summit recaps, many surfers are going to be too confident in their abilities, and the fatigue level is much higher in a wave pool, and that combination will potentially lead to more injury. And finally, there needs to be safety training, not only for your employees, but also for customers coming to your surf park, and especially new surfers. And the safety training needs to be focused on not just themselves, but also on helping others, because it's going to be really easy for surfers to get out there in the water, having a good time, enjoying themselves, and they might not see a friend that's with them that might be struggling and get hurt because they're just so in the zone and they're having fun and they're distracted from watching out for each other. So you want to make sure that there's safety training for helping others. That's it for this recap of the Surf Park Summit regarding safety, risk, and insurance. If you like this information, you found it helpful, please like it, share it, comment, and follow my channel. Or if you'd like to join a Surf Park Mastermind group, click the link in the description below, and if I get enough people interested, I'll try to put one together. Thanks again for dropping in. I'm kicking out. See ya.